What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a new release movie that was released directly on to Netflix. And to be honest, I saw this movie announced a few months ago, and I was actually really excited to watch it for a multitude of reasons. For starters, it stars Adam Sandler in a dramatic performance, and I love when Adam Sandler gives dramatic performances. I think he's a really incredibly talented actor who spends a lot of his time making really horrible comedies that don't work, but every now and again, you get a really talented director that casts him in a dramatic role and he gives a phenomenal performance. And so I was really excited to know that he was in this film giving a dramatic performance. Paul Dano was in this movie, Carey Mulligan. So there's a lot of hard-hitting actors and actresses in this. And the concept sounded incredibly fascinating. And I didn't know much about the director or anything else involved with it, but I wanted to go into this with an open mind and check it out. And the film I'm going to be discussing with you today is Spaceman. Spaceman is directed by Johan Renck. During a research mission, an astronaut discovers that his marriage is in trouble. Luckily, he has the help of a mysterious creature hidden in his ship. So, as I said, I was very excited to watch this movie because Adam Sandler was giving a dramatic performance and there was a lot of incredible actors in this film. And this movie let me down quite a bit. I think some of the reviews towards it are a little harsh. People are being very extreme about it, but I definitely don't think it's anywhere near as good as it could have been, and it falls short, especially when it comes to the dialogue in the film. The narrative structure is a little bit messy. The pacing is a struggle at times where it's a little difficult to get into, and I'll break all that down when I talk about the movie in detail. So at the beginning of the film, we're introduced to Czech astronaut Jakob, played by Adam Sandler. And he's 6 months into a mission near Jupiter where they're going to explore this cloud of dust particles that they call Chopra, and they are trying to get to this cloud of dust particles before South Korea gets there. And the South Korean government has sent an astronaut to go there as well, and he's a little bit ahead of them. And we see his conversations back at home on Earth. He's clearly well respected as an astronaut. It seems like the Czech people absolutely love him. And we see him making calls at the beginning of the film to his wife Lenka, played by Carey Mulligan. And you can see that there is a lot of tension in their relationship, and it seems like they're falling apart. And we learn really early on in the film that Lenka has sent a message to Jakob, which was intercepted by the government first, saying that she wants to end their marriage. And they are horrified to send him that message because he is 6 months into this space travel and he is feeling incredibly isolated and alone, and they don't want to kind of set him over the edge to where the mission is going to fail. And so Jakob is up there alone in space and he's trying to get to his destination. And one day he's going through the ship and he sees a giant spider, which he will later name Hanush, voiced by Paul Dano, who starts having these lengthy conversations with him about his relationship with his wife and understanding humanity and where he comes from. And the entire film is Jakob on this spaceship trying to get to Jupiter, fighting his loneliness, worrying about his relationship with his wife, and learning more about this spider creature, Hanush, who is also trying to learn about him simultaneously. So the concept to this film is fascinating. I think it's a really unique and interesting concept that I believe reading online is based off of a novel. Despite the concept being really fascinating, the movie falls flat in a lot of ways. For starters, I will talk about some of the positives. I think Adam Sandler's performance in this is great. There are some really great emotional moments in this movie that I think his performance delivers. He does a really nice job. Paul Dano does a really great job with the voice acting. Carey Mulligan is just one of the best actresses working. I feel like no matter what she shows up in, she constantly gives 100% and is just absolutely incredible. And that's no exception in this movie. I think all three actors are handed this script and do the best that they can to deliver the best performances possible. The visuals in this film, there are some visually stunning sequences. There's a lot of use of color, especially early in the film. There's these really interesting shot selection choices that almost look like we're seeing a scene through the eyes of Hanush the spider. Like the way the camera lens looks, it's kind of warped, like you're looking through an eyeball. And I thought a lot of those cinematographical choices were really cool, and they were really fun to watch and see how the director played around with those sequences. But that's about where the positives stop for me. I think the biggest issue with this movie is Obviously, this concept of an astronaut being on a spaceship and being encountered by a giant spider and having conversation, it's a very weird, abstract concept that is really interesting, but it never fully gets all that weird, honestly. I feel like the movie could have pushed it in a direction that got really surreal and really abstract and made you think more. And instead, it's really just these two characters having these conversations that, after about the first 40 minutes of the movie, start to feel very repetitive. It feels like we're getting the same information over and over again. And we do get little bits of information into Jakob's life, and we learn a little bit about who he was raised by and his father, and little bits about him and Carey Mulligan's relationship. But the dialogue surrounding his marriage, sometimes it comes across as like a Hallmark drama, like it's written in a way that is a little corny and that doesn't really feel authentic emotionally. And that's what pulled me out of the movie, where there were moments I was like, oh, this is really great and I really like this a lot. And then there were other moments where it was just like, okay, this is really cheesy and poorly written. Paul Dano as Hanush is constantly delivering these lines calling Adam Sandler's character skinny human. And after a while, it just felt really cheesy. And it was like, okay, the first couple of times, whatever. But like the fact that this is what you're delivering over and over again, it didn't really add any comedy into the film. And that's what I felt like they were doing, was trying to throw some comedy in amidst the heavy drama of the film. And then the entire emotional crux of the movie is the fact that Adam Sandler and Carey Mulligan's relationship is breaking apart. But I never really felt any of that emotional weight. I think a lot of it has to do with the pacing of the movie and where they choose to spend their time. There's a lot of sequences with Jakob and Hanush where they're having very long conversations about where Hanush comes from and all these things, and then jumping back to Jakob talking about his father and these things. And I didn't feel like that added up to any of the emotional weight affiliated with his marriage, and they kept trying to jump back into that to really make it be the big payoff of the film. And when the big emotional crux moment comes in the third act, I just felt really empty about all of it. And it's unfortunate because, as I said, visually the film is beautiful. It's very well shot. There's a couple sequences that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I still think there was a lot of intentionality in the way this thing was presented. The score is pretty good for the movie. I felt like it really helped add to the ambiance of the film. Overall, I just left feeling kind of empty. And I think when you're looking at marital dramas, there's been so many incredible movies over the past even 5 years about marital relationships falling apart and struggles in marriages. And there's so many other movies I can think of that have really great dialogue structure and that really have heavy emotional payoffs. And this was just a movie that kind of fell flat. And it's unfortunate because there's so much talent involved and it looks beautiful, just doesn't have much substance to it. So have you seen Spaceman? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was very mediocre. I really wanted to love it, and instead I just felt like it fell really flat. As always, if you like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.